Welcome to the Decompression Chamber. I am your host, Andrea, and joining me this week is Preston Kingsnake McMurray. Preston Kingsnake, what do you want
Howdy.
to be called,
E-
and how are you doing?
Either one works. So,
All right.
hey, you. The guys in my unit on active duty call me Gazoo.
Gazoo.
After the little green guy on Flintstones. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah.
I'm sure the title was not well
Pro-
earned and kind of a stretch
my
of the definition.
my big head.
Oh,
So
okay.
probably. I don't know.
uh, Fantastic. Yeah, military nicknames. We're going to have to dive into that one a little bit deeper because they just seem to come out of left field. Um, but great. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where you from? What was childhood like?
Well, I was born in Columbus, Ohio. My parents both went to Ohio State. Grew up in Milwaukee or suburbs of Milwaukee.
Hmm.
Went to high school in Los Angeles, a suburb of Los Angeles called Torrance.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's where I joined the Army from. And until I was about 35, I'd lived more places than years I'd been alive. So,
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a few. Now, what year did you join the army?
uh, J- June 19th, 1980.
Okay.
I was in for 20, 21 years, 3 months, and 11 days.
Not that you're counting.
And do you want my getting out of the Army story now, or
uh,
out of retirement story now, or you want it at the end?
Oh no, let's delve into
Okay.
topics as they come up. Chronology is just the
Okay.
aspiration. Reality might be different, so go for it.
So our guard unit, I was in the Army Reserve at the time. I served reserve, active duty, and National Guard. Um, Used to do our 2 days a month on
Hmm.
the second full weekend of the
Hmm.
year. It just so happened that, or of the month, it just so happened that month, which was September, I we had our annual trip up to the Boy Scout camp called Bear Paw north of Green Bay,
Hmm.
and we would do our basic soldier skills, map reading, first aid, so on, and then end it with a huge alcoholic bash.
As one does.
And I got really drunk,
Good.
and then we drove back Sunday morning, and I basically spent all day Sunday hiding out in the motor pool latrine,
Oh
sitting
man.
in the toilet, just trying not to be sick
Oh,
because I was so drunk all day. Well, it
that's
gets
rough.
towards the end of the afternoon. It's time to sign out for the last time, and I actually broke down crying.
Oh man.
And I used to think when you'd see some sports guy retire that he's crying. What's the big deal? You're not dying or something. But
Right.
I wasn't until then I understood how much, even though my relationship with the military is very complicated,
Hmm.
as I'm sure a lot of people's are, um, it did. It's a huge chunk out of your life that isn't there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was on a Sunday, and on Tuesday morning I woke up and the towers were coming down.
Holy cow. That's
Yeah,
unbelievable timing.
it's
That's wild.
excellent timing actually. Yeah, because I was deployed. I was in Grenada.
Hmm.
I was in the first Gulf War and Bosnia, if you count that as well.
Absolutely.
And I was. I'm surprised they didn't call me back
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because
That's
technically I was even though I was in the reserve, I was on terminal leave. I was still
right. You still
in until the end
technically.
of the month.
Yeah.
And even then, you could be long retired, off IRR and everything. Once you sign up, and most people don't realize this,
Hmm.
in the old days they used to call it taking the king's shilling.
Hmm.
Once you take the king's shilling, you're his for life. And that's the way you could be recalled. They had
For
guys
sure.
that were like 60 and 70-year-old surgeons that were recalled to
Hmm.
Afghanistan.
Yeah. Just
And so I'm
wild.
surprised I never got called back, but I'm thankful I didn't because that turned into a gigantic shit show.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, and they didn't. I think it wasn't until like 2006 that they really had like manning issues and started doing goofy stuff with like stop loss and whatever
mhm.
else. Um, but yeah, the retention and having the numbers and trying to mitigate that manifested itself in various scenarios. But luckily for you, I mean, you didn't
Yeah.
didn't get
I,
recalled.
timing was excellent.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I knock on knock on wood. It's a
Uh-huh.
paper product, but it's made out of wood.
Close enough.
I've had an amazing ability to dodge metaphorical bullets in my life, and that
Good.
was one of them. So
That's
I'm not ashamed of not going at all.
I
So,
yeah. Yeah, and probably in retrospect especially. Um
oh yeah.
yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to the folks who did,
Mhm.
but I'm glad I didn't. So,
Well, and there's a certain sense of you served your time. It's kind of someone else's turn now. I
yeah,
mean,
exactly.
and as you mentioned, you're in Grenada and in the first Gulf War. Um, so going back to 1980 when you enlisted, I assume you go to basic training. Were you fresh out of high school? What?
Well, can I go back further? Back to
Absolutely.
back to the
Yeah.
very beginning.
Let's jump around
Um,
like a
in
Pulp
fact,
Fiction.
I was just tweeting with somebody about it this morning, and some of my earliest influences were when I was 3 to 5 years old. And I was born in '62,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time, the show what I was tweeting about the shows were Combat and 12 O'clock High.
Mm-hmm.
I loved 12 O'clock High. I've been in love with the B-17 Flying Fortress my whole life,
Yeah.
and there are still a couple that are flying around. With like the EAA and what do they call it now? They used to call it the Confederate Air Force, but they changed the C
Oh.
letter. But they have a couple active B-17s you can fly on. If you ever
Wow.
have a chance, get a ride. It's worth
Oh,
every penny.
I would. Yeah.
So at the same time, the Vietnam War was going on, and I remember specifically, I don't remember who it was, but I remember, I used to watch Walter Cronkite and see the footage and so
Yeah.
on. I remember asking my parents to tell me a bedtime story about a guy who had gotten the Medal of Honor there.
Okay. Wow.
My dad was always into military history.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't serve, and he had a couple of books. And one of the books is, I mean, like this big coffee table book thick, the
Yeah.
West Point Atlas of Military History.
Wow.
And on one page, they would have a map of the battle,
Mm-hmm.
and on the other page, it'd have a description of it. And it was for every battle in every war the United States participated in
Wow.
between the French and Indian War and the Korean War.
Wow.
So they had like, Battle of the Bulge and
Yeah.
Bunker Hill and Stalingrad, which
Yeah.
we weren't at Stalingrad, but it was one of the wars we were in.
Sure.
World War
Sure.
II, World War II for those who aren't history buffs.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
the so I would study that over and over and over when I'm like 8 or 10 years old.
Wow.
And the other book I read was like a Life or somebody. Life magazine was a magazine that had a lot of photo essays back in
Yeah.
the day,
Yeah.
and a lot of pictures like that from World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the pictures were paintings. And there was an artist called Tom Lee,
Mm-hmm.
Lea, who was a combat artist with the Marine Corps in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of paintings he did from the Battle of Peleliu.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's called the 1,000-Yard Stare. There's a guy standing in front of, I'm
Yeah.
going to mispronounce the name, Umbragal Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like that.
Yeah.
There's another painting, and I always thought this painting was from Iwo Jima.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, it's the most disturbing thing I've ever seen. I mean, I used to watch Live Leak and stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. That was.
and this, even though I'm an adult now, I look at that painting and I just kind of, and this Marine had gotten stitched up by a Japanese machine gun on the beach at Peleliu.
Oh wow.
And when he stood back up, his arm was dangling and he was covered with blood all up and down his face. And this actually happened. The artist,
Wow.
Tom Lee, saw it and then painted it. And I saw
Wow.
this whenever I was flipping through that book, the picture book, I'd kind of, because it was so
Yeah.
horrifying, even to this day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then I had an uncle, Uncle Ora, O-R-A, you can look him up,
Mm-hmm.
Ora McMurray, who served in World War One. Now, the U.S. didn't
Unbelievable.
enter World War One until, I didn't think we had
1917 we declared.
late 17.
1918 we actually got into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Oro was a natural fighter.
Hmm.
And so he went over and joined ahead of time. He joined the French army
Wow.
and served as an ambulance driver.
That's a hard
And
charger.
yeah,
Wow.
and for his service in the French army, he got the Croix de Guerre, which
Hmm.
Cross of War, which I think is probably equivalent to our Distinguished Service Cross.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um,
It's a big deal.
when the U.S. joined, he was too heavy to be a pilot, but he somehow lied his way into being a pilot for the U.S.
That's what I love
And
about older wars. You could just lie, like just fudge
uh,
basic facts and just do whatever the hell you want.
there's a 13-year-old kid that served as a sailor in the Solomon Islands for the U.S.
Yeah,
Navy till he
it's
kicked him.
wild. Yeah,
Yeah, or Marine or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, it's completely insane. And yeah, I think I lied about my borderline color blindness, like that, you know. But that's like
But
about as much as you can get away with in this day and age.
if the
Back
guy's
then,
in front of you, shoot him.
yeah,
If he's behind, if he's behind you, hopefully you don't have to shoot him.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
exactly. You got, someone's got your
So,
six,
if,
but yeah,
what
that's
okay.
insane. Like, okay, how much do you weigh? Like, did they not have scales back then? Like, they just, okay, yeah, fine, whatever.
I don't know. He lied or whatever. Well,
That's wild.
the way I remember it was he shot down 13 Germans.
Wow.
Um, that's
That's
what he told us. But they didn't
ace
have
times two plus.
yeah, they didn't have gun cameras back then.
Mm.
So he was only credited with 3. But there's websites you can go on
Yeah.
where they tell you who won what. I could look up you could look up me, whatever the
Hmm.
case is. Aura ended up getting 2 Distinguished Service Crosses as
Amazing.
a U.S. aviator. He took on like 13 Germans by himself or something like that.
That's wild. That is so
It's just
crazy.
nuts. But I was listening to these stories as a 5 and 6-year-old kid,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so and between that and reading the books and stuff, that had a huge influence on me. Then, about the same time, they started coming out with war games,
Hmm.
and war games it's not Call of Duty, which is just comic book crap,
Yeah.
but they were cardboard because we didn't have computers back then, and they were at least serious attempts to recreate history. Maybe
Uh-huh.
not too accurately sometimes, but they tried to.
Right.
And my dad bought a game based on Battle of the Bulge. And so that kind of became my hobby in junior high school, was playing these games, and then on into high school.
Hmm.
And even after I was on active duty, I played them still.
Wow.
Oh, this is say hello, Gizmo. Come here.
Ah, Gizmo the cat. Elsie just came in and laid down on the floor, so I'm sure she'll be by soon.
There's
Hi, Gizmo.
she's not impressed.
Ah,
So
yeah.
as high school wore on, by the time I was in Los Angeles,
Mhm.
and I was thinking I would be a Marine.
Okay.
And I took the various tests that you take as in high school. I was
Yep.
like a Marine officer,
Okay.
and Marine officers can be commissioned, through the Naval Academy, through OCS, or through I think ROTC as well.
Yes.
And that's what I was interested in. So I applied the colleges I applied to. I wanted to be an electrical engineering major because
Hmm.
my grandfather was an engineer in World War II.
Okay. Wow.
Part of in France.
Hmm.
And the colleges I applied to, UCLA, Tulane, and someplace else, I didn't get into because I was a very average high school student.
Right. Right.
I never did homework.
Well,
Second period was for doing first period homework,
yeah, makes sense to
third
me.
period, and so on.
Why take it home
So
with you?
I, I didn't get into the colleges, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? And so
Yeah.
I went down to enlist in the Army. My parents wouldn't let me enlist until after I graduated.
Makes
I
sense.
wanted to enlist right away. It was
Hmm.
okay. I would have done the delayed entry. I would have waited till, but June 1st when I graduated
Hmm.
to actually complete the entry or whatever they called it.
Right.
But they wouldn't let me do it. So went to, I always say everybody gets screwed by their recruiter. I think you had one guy
Just
on
about.
your show that didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
My
I,
recruiters are pretty honest, but yeah, they earn that reputation for a reason.
yeah, yeah, they got
They're
numbers to
salesmen.
make.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, used car salesmen are more honest. And I guess probably it wasn't my recruiter; it was the guy at the MEPS station.
Okay.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, this is I was in high school from 76 to 80s. So I
Hmm.
remember Saigon falling,
Yes.
as well as much of the rest of the Vietnam War.
Hmm.
Um, so I'd seen a ad in Time magazine. There was a ranger standing there with his rifle
Yeah.
like this
Hmm.
on his hip. He's covered in all this black camo with all this cool ranger gear on and stuff. I'm like,
Yep.
shit, that's cool. I want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this, by the way, is during the Iranian hostage crisis. I'm like, I want to go wax some Iranians, man. I'm gonna go over there.
Yeah.
When you're 16 or 18 years old, you don't care. You don't understand
Well, yeah. Yeah. You just want to be a badass
what
for
it
sure.
means to. You just, that's why child soldiers are so popular in certain parts of the world, because there's
Yep.
no fear and there's no moral, you know, they'll kill anything
Right. Right.
and don't care if they die. So
Hmm.
um, I thought I'm going to be a ranger.
Yeah.
So we got down to
Why
the
not?
MEPS, and I'm going like, I want to be. Now, bear in mind, this is 1980.
Hmm.
When I finally I enlisted in June, but I showed up at the MEPS September or October, late
Okay.
September,
Oh,
early October.
quite a while. Okay.
Um, so the hostages were still over there.
Hmm.
The um, the guy at the MEPS told me, we this is in 1980. We have no openings in the Rangers until the year 2000.
What? how could they? How could they
I
possibly know
swear to
that?
God,
That's
that's what he
insane.
said. That's what he said.
Amazing.
But I'm a kid and I don't know. So I
Yeah.
believed him, right?
Yeah.
And if you know anything about special operations, you know that they're always dying for people,
Oh yeah.
because the selection process is so difficult.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know
Yeah. The attrition rate
that's
is off the
yeah.
charts. Yep.
That song, "The Ballad of the Green Berets." 100 men will test today, but only 3 win the Green Beret. I don't
Hmm.
know if it's the attrition rate is that high, but you get an
I.
idea. So,
Yeah.
and then that doesn't even take into account once you're on active duty. You finish training, you got the operational tempo, and this
Hmm.
is the operational tempo back in the 80s.
Hmm.
Never
Yep.
mind now with Afghanistan and Iraq and
Oh
God
yeah.
knows where there's guys in places we never even heard of.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
um, so I believed him. So I thought, okay, well, I've seen the Green Berets of John Wayne.
Yeah.
I still like the movie. I think it's a great movie.
It is.
And the so I tell him, okay, how about the Green Berets? So
Yeah.
what do you think his answer was?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah. No problem.
we no, we don't have any openings to the year 2000. It's the same line.
Interesting. So I basically this is if you had any sense at all, you'd go, okay, there's something specific he's trying to get me to sign up for. There's something that the
Well,
army needs, and
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and God knows I probably wouldn't have passed because most people don't.
right,
And
right.
and but it was something I wanted to do.
Hmm.
So I think what the thing he needed to fulfill was radio operators, because I had an extremely high
Yeah.
ASVAB. I had like a 148 or something out of
Oh wow.
150 at the time.
Hmm.
When I actually apply myself to my studies, I can do well.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Funny how that works.
he said, well, how about radio operator? I'm thinking, well, I'd seen Vietnam.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
seen guys with radios on their back. Shit. I'll, if I'm a radio operator, I'll be in the 82nd Airborne humping around with the infantry. Cool. You
yeah.
know, so I'll do that. You know, that's not what he's thinking, but that's what I was thinking.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I enlisted for a radio operator and airborne.
Okay.
And so thinking, well, if I'm in the 18th Airborne Corps, I'll be assigned to the 82nd Airborne. But
Right.
that's not the way it worked out.
Of course not. It never is. The best laid plans of a 17, 18-year-old.
Yeah.
No. No, no, no. Yeah.
Yeah. So I, enlisted from Los Angeles. Initially went to Fort Jackson
Okay.
for basic. They kept us there for a week, gave us all the shots and the gear and all that, and then sent us for some reason to Fort Gordon,
Okay. Makes perfect sense.
which is the signal school. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
in the old World War II barracks, 2-story open bay,
Hmm.
one shower thing.
Yeah.
Um,
All you need.
And yeah, well, we had one guy um, from Philadelphia that he showered 3 times in basic training.
What the
I
hell?
think it was like 8 or 10 weeks at the time. I don't know, like 3 times.
What?
And I didn't know he wasn't showering, but when we came back from our they have you like go to like a 1 week long field exercise. You
Right.
march out, you march back. Well, we marched out and back.
Mhm.
The company across the way that had females in it took trucks out and back.
Oh, must be
And
nice.
that was my introduction to the integrated army. I'm like, you got to be fucking me,
Yeah.
because I've always had bad feet. I went on
Mhm.
a march, a hike with the Boy Scouts when I was like 10 or 12 years old,
Mhm.
and I fell way behind because my feet are so bad. I don't know why.
Mhm.
So obviously, I probably wouldn't have made it through Ranger School, no matter how good my attitude was.
Right. Right.
But so to see these people trucking out, trucking back was a little. We came
Yeah.
back from the bivouac, and that's when I found out that the guy hadn't showered. They literally took him with all his gear on and just threw him in the shower.
It's bizarre. But you
Yeah.
meet all kinds of people in the
Well,
military, you
oh,
know.
that's not even the worst one. We had the goon platoon.
Ah.
We had a bedwetter. So they stuck the bedwetter. We had 2-tier bunks,
What?
right? Yeah, a bedwetter. So they stuck the bedwetter in a bunk down at the end of the barracks. Then a little bit later, a
Wow.
week or whatever, we find out there's another bedwetter in the platoon. So they made him go down there and take the top bunk with the other bedwetter.
Oh my god. Well, that was like a point of disqualification for the Navy is if you're a bedwetter, they'd
Really?
yeah.
Uh,
And like because I heard stories of guys
Maybe
like
because you
standing
got
up and
five guys sleeping on top of each other. Who knows?
probably yeah, it's like
Dribbling down,
but yeah,
taking a
we had
shower.
some guy who wanted to get kicked out and so like people were saying that he was standing up in the middle of the night and pissing on his rack so he
Yeah.
would get
Oh,
separated.
we had one of those too.
Ah.
Besides the bedwetters, we had the mystery pisser.
The intentional pissers. All right, yeah.
No, this is a mystery pisser. He's a sleep pisser. We'd wake up in the morning, do our police call, and there'd always be this huge puddle underneath one particular window. So some guy was mystery pissing out of the window. And then I'm
Okay.
not sure if it was the same guy, but our I think they called them platoon guide.
Okay.
They're like the platoon leaders that are students.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the platoon guides had broke his leg.
Oh.
He didn't recycle, but he was on crutches, finishing it, whatever training we had left.
Right.
And one night, the guy he was on the bottom bunk. The guy in his top bunk got out, sleepwalking, whipped his dong out, and started hosing down the crippled guy on the lower bunk. And the
Oh my
crippled guy's up there on
god.
his crutches, waving his crutches around like this.
Well, yeah, yeah. What the
Well,
hell? Getting
the
pissed
guy was
on
still
here.
asleep, still hosing him down.
Well, that's another point of disqualification, like automatic
This,
separations if you're a sleepwalker. Especially with the
yeah,
Navy, it's like we can't have you walking off the fucking ship at 1 o'clock in the
true.
morning.
Yeah.
But wow, did the sleepwalk pisser get processed out or what happened
I
to
don't
him?
remember. I don't remember.
Well,
Um, oh, it gets better. We had when we did our final police call at the end of basic training, went under the barracks because these old World War II barracks were elevated off the ground.
Mhm.
Um, Probably because they could run piping and stuff easier, have to dig it up. The whole idea was to get as many barracks up as quick as possible,
Yep.
process guys through, and send them to the South Pacific or wherever
Yeah.
as quick as possible. There were so many roaches, and by roaches I mean marijuana roaches under there. So
Really?
a bunch of guys were toking it up and stuff.
Wow.
Um, we
Now, did
had
they drug test back then, or is this like a more
I
recent
don't know.
development?
I guess not. I don't remember.
Amazing. Amazing.
I don't remember anybody getting kicked out of basic training for weed. I know
Wow.
when I was on active duty, they did,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I know some folks might have been hot at one time or another.
Yeah.
And the secret was because they didn't call your names out randomly; they just get everybody in line. You'd
Mhm.
stand in the back of the line, and so it'd be me and a couple other guys that I also knew were hot, and hang out, wait, and they'd run out of tubes and be
Yeah. Thank God.
got away with it that time. So
Wow. I being stoned in basic training sounds horrifying. Like
no,
that's
that wasn't me. I actually didn't even try marijuana until I was halfway through high school.
Oh, okay.
And this is in Southern California in the 70s.
Yeah, yeah,
So
like weed
everybody would
central.
smoke.
Yeah.
The football team was all smoking and stuff too. But
Wow.
I was,
Amazing.
I was from Milwaukee. I moved to LA, so I was a little bit of a fish out of water when I was in high school.
Mhm.
Um, so and I've never bought it, sold it, possessed or anything. But if somebody had a joint, passed it to me back then, I'd like, yeah, sure, I'll take a puff.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Makes sense.
um, I mean, I'm not proud of it, but it's just part of my life.
Yeah.
Neither
Yeah.
good, And the last time I smoked was April of '86, and
And you
I
remember
was
that
in.
pretty specifically, so
Yeah. Well, it's like your sobriety date or something. I mean,
that's true.
I'm not on a 12-step program or something. I only ever use it casually, but you kind of remember those things.
Sure. That's
And
true.
um,
Yeah.
and it was about the same time I met uh, a captain named Jim Thrasher. I didn't know
Mhm.
he's a captain. His son brought. I was coaching football in Flagstaff, Arizona,
Mhm.
youth football. He brought his son over, and at some point we started talking. Maybe he came in uniform or something, and he found out I was in the military, and he recruited me into ROTC.
Oh, wow.
And so it's about the time I probably before that had decided, I need to, that's kid stuff.
Mhm.
I need to, it's fun to have fun while you can, but at some point you got to
Yes.
grow up
Yeah.
and start applying yourself as an adult if you want to
Mhm.
make something out of yourself.
Absolutely.
So um, that's how that happened. But it gets even better in basic training. We had out of the 3 or 4 platoons, we were the goon platoon, but we also shot the best on the range.
Go figure.
A guy I enlisted with, not a friend, but I met him at the MEPS.
Mhm.
Oh wait, this is a different guy. There's a guy in our basic training unit
Yeah.
that our platoon that looked like Ronald Reagan,
Oh,
and he
fantastic.
looked. I swear to
Weird.
God, he looked as old as Ronald Reagan too. The guy's probably
Wow.
32 or 33.
Yeah, yeah, but
Well,
when you're 18, that's like double your age. That's an
yeah,
old
yeah.
man. Yeah.
And when we had the class where they demonstrated how to wear your Class A's, your dress uniform, he was the example they used. He got up on
Okay.
stage. He was wearing jump boots, which you only get to wear if you're in the airborne.
Mhm.
He was wearing. He had the blue arrow with the yellow lightning bolts, special
Mhm.
forces patch. He
Yep.
had a green beret on, the whole 9 yards. Everybody on that post, including the 2-star post commander, thought the guy was an ex Green Beret.
Wow.
But the reason he told us he had to go through basic training again was he'd been out for too long.
Ah, okay. That
Well, the last week of basic training, because he borrows $300 from some guy and goes AWOL. They do
ah.
some research into him, and they find out that he'd been a mechanic in Germany during the Vietnam War.
So not a green
No,
beret.
not even remotely. No, no.
Amazing. Wow.
And so somewhere I still got the picture from basic training. We do a group portrait and stuff. I could point him out like that guy, that guy. I know this guy. I know what he did.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
one guy whose nickname was Barney Fife.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know,
Wow. Memories. That's amazing though. Like, you're already if you're a mechanic during Vietnam, like, you're already in the military once, then you got to go back to basic training. So I mean, the story at least of like I had to go back to basic kind of checks out, but then just all right, now I'm
yeah,
done. Never mind. Mea
yeah.
culpa.
And it was my first. I didn't know what it was called at the time, but this is my first encounter with stolen valor.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So now, you see, I don't know if he's still doing it, but Don Shipley, who's a senior chief in the
Yeah.
SEALs, had a long series of videos on YouTube till they kicked him off, where he would track down guys who were claiming to be, I was an Air Force Recon SEAL,
Mhm.
not Don Shipley, but these other
Right.
guys, and these,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
this just shit sandwich of weird decorations and berets all backwards, and guys who had no clue.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's my first encounter with that particular thing. So now I always look at when somebody says I was here and I did this, I'm always there's always a voice in the back of my head going, does that really
Yeah.
I may not say anything, but in the back of my head, I'm going, "Did you really do that,
Right, right. Yeah, take it with a grain of
or
salt.
did you do anything like that?" Because to this day, 21 years, 3 months, and 11 days, the only time I've been shot at in my life was when I lived in Los Angeles. So,
Yeah, it's true. Like, wasn't, I mean, up until the fall of Afghanistan, I mean, wasn't the murder rate in Chicago like more grievous than in Afghanistan? I mean, it was safer to go over there as a
yeah.
U.S. troop. Yeah, crazy.
So, and when I got shot at, the kid next door to me, I knew, and he was an adult. He was a year or two older than me. He was a weed dealer. And he showed me his garage once. He took up his garage door, and I swear there was a pile of weed that was 3 feet high in there. So that's what it
Wow.
looked like. So one day I'm sitting in the back bedroom at our house, and I hear this like tink sound up in the front of it, tink, like that. And then
Mm-hmm.
her coming down the hallway towards me. I thought, now I'd only seen a gun fired once in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I had a single shot 22 when I was like 6 years old or 8 years old.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, I think that was a bullet.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez.
for some reason, I think that was a bullet. I think somebody shot through the window, and I think what I heard was a ricochet.
Wow.
Ricocheting off the boards, walls, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went down the carpet, and I'm digging through the carpet, seeing if I could find the bullet. I didn't see anything. I went up to my window, and sure enough, there's a little 22 caliber hole in my window.
Holy shit.
Well, what had happened was the house next door to us, which is the weed dealer. This is
Uh-huh.
a nice neighborhood. It's in Torrance, a nice neighborhood of Torrance. There's
Yeah.
parts of Torrance that even back then were not good,
Mm-hmm.
but and they got hit too. So what I think happened was is some rival kid was, weed dealer or whatever, was drive-bying his house and just happened to hit our house too.
Wow.
So,
Well, yeah,
but
they're not known
my
for their aim, those drive-by folks.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So my feeling was, rather than fear, I was curious.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may be different when there's, if it had ever been, 100 mujahideen, with RPGs.
Yeah. Yeah. People
But
with
at the
absolute
time,
intent against you. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was curiosity.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I've been shot at in my life.
That's
So,
unbelievable. Well,
yeah,
yeah. And that, of course, as you mentioned, it was in Torrance, so that was before you joined. How old were you when that happened?
16 maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
You
Wow.
know.
That's one hell of a
So,
life
like I said,
experience.
I've had this kind of weird ability to dodge bullets.
Yeah.
I'm not like Neo and
Although that would be
whatever.
cool, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I joined. So after basic training, I went to jump school at
Awesome.
Fort Benning.
Hmm.
I know where it is. I'm getting old. And
I was right there
we
at the assist if you needed it. So
yeah. Um, I had it's 3 week school. You have a 30-foot tower where you exit.
yeah.
You practice exiting an aircraft. You slide, basically a slide for life type thing.
Hmm.
Um, then you have the 300-foot tower a week, and this is where they take you up on these big, like a radio tower.
Hmm.
They hook up a parachute, they take you up, and they let it go.
Hmm.
And then you
Wow.
have jump week.
Mm.
But I got there early, so I had a 0 week, and it was during 0 week that John Hinckley shot Reagan.
Wow.
Reagan had been elected while I was in basic training.
Sure.
So
Oh
yeah.
wow. Yeah. Oh,
So that was
it's your service is interesting because you have first of all you had a very historical mind going back to what your dad told you about when you're like 3 and 5 years old and your
mhm.
interest in all of that, and then that you're able to go through your military service and against the backdrop of, hey, this is what's going on. Reagan gets elected while I'm in basic, he gets shot. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really fascinating. Was there any, while you're in Fort Benning and that news comes out, I mean, did it
I don't
affect
remember.
anyone or operations?
I don't really remember any impact because I was in 0 week. I was like sitting on my memory, and sometimes memories are false memories. I was sitting on the grass outside the snack bar
Great
because
place
it
to
didn't
be.
really have to. It was 0 week. We're waiting for other people to show up before we kicked off another training cycle. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I remember doing a lot of push-ups and a lot of squats, beating my boots a ton in
Oh, I
jump
bet.
school.
Yeah.
And you ran everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we're running, doing PT in the morning with the black hats. The black hats are the trainers.
Mm-hmm.
And you sing while you run. Everybody sings. And there was one kid who wouldn't sing. I said, "You need to sing." And he
Oh
wouldn't
boy.
sing. "You need to sing." And he wouldn't sing, so I kicked him out of school. That's it. He flunked
Wow.
out of jump school for the simple fact that he didn't want to sing while he was running. It's like,
You
what the?
have to. Yeah. You're gonna do what we tell you to do. It's that simple.
Yeah. Um, every once in a while on the 300-foot tower, the wind would shift and blow somebody into the tower after they'd been released.
Oh,
So the
ouch.
guy be every jump I've ever done in the military has been utter chaos. There's always unless you've been on a drop zone
Yeah.
during a mass drop, you just have no idea.
Right.
I think I was telling you about this when we talked a couple of weeks ago. So every once in a while, somebody get blown into the tower, and they'd have to figure out a way of getting them down. I don't remember how they do it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but
Wow.
that was interesting. And then there's one guy. The only real story I remember from other than the guy who went sing from jump school was somebody for some reason didn't like me, and we're
Mm-hmm.
sitting there at the 300-foot tower week, um, waiting to go somewhere and do something. I don't remember what, and
Yeah.
I feel this like tink off the top of my helmet,
Mm-hmm.
and there's another one. The guy was throwing rocks at me. I thought, "Look, dude, stop."
What the hell?
I
Yeah.
don't know. Stop, stop. He went stop, so I turned around and punched him.
As one does.
I
Yes.
now I saw that video of Pat hitting Gino, and they said
Oh
he
boy.
ambushed him, and it looked to me like he hit him in the face.
Yes.
He didn't give him any warning, but he ran right up to him, and pow. And that's
Yeah.
basically what I did with the guy behind me. I just turned, I warned him.
Yeah.
He didn't listen, and I turned around and popped him. Well, I thought that was the end of that. So training ends for the day. I'm walking it back into my room in the barracks, and the guy jumps me from behind,
Oh God.
and we start fighting. And a bunch of other guys pile in and pull us apart because if we'd have got caught fighting,
Oh yeah.
we would have
Yeah.
been kicked out of school.
For sure. For sure.
So that was the end of that. You know,
Good. Good.
um,
I mean, the guy just wanted to mess with someone, or I mean, did he ever give
I
a
don't know.
reason, or it never?
I don't know why, but some people I've had an ability.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you call it that, to rub people the wrong way.
Eh,
Maybe because I have a low tolerance for other people's bullshit, or I've often to my detriment,
mm-hmm.
especially when dealing with higher ranking individuals,
Yeah.
to tell them that's bullshit and that's stupid and we shouldn't be doing that. Now
Yeah.
this guy was a higher ranking than me, but I have a low tolerance for stupidity.
Sure. Sure.
Um, and it's probably something along those lines if I had to guess, but I
Right.
don't remember.
Right.
So
Wow.
active duty ended up being actually with the 35th, initially Charlie Company, 50th Signal Battalion, 35th Signal Brigade, 18th Airborne Corps at Fort Bragg.
Okay.
So
And how long were you there for?
year or so.
Okay.
And then I decided I wanted to be, and I'd gotten, oh, wait, I forgot, AIT story.
Yes.
So this is a good.
Gotta have those.
So I'm totally innocent when I was a virgin when I was in basic training and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to AIT, and there's this girl in my radio class that starts reaching over and grabbing my dong.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Massaging my dong in radio class.
All right.
I'm like, that was pretty cool.
She
didn't know
later
what to
became your wife. Does she have any
No,
thoughts on
no.
this story?
Her buddy became my first wife.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
I didn't know what to do with this girl. Was
That
that,
is
I
one
like,
way to
what do I
meet your
do?
wife. Holy
I was
shit.
enjoying it, but I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, yeah. Who would?
Well, her buddy was this big country redhead, and I've always had a thing for redheads. And she actually got discharged from AIT. She didn't complete her training, and I didn't want to lose her, so I proposed to her.
Wow.
And
Wow. What?
so I show up.
Get kicked out of AIT for just.
Long story. So
All right. We'll draw our own
not
conclusions.
my story, so I don't really want to go into it.
Okay,
But
no, that's fair.
um, well, I get to active duty. She comes out. We get married
Hmm.
in Dillon, South Carolina,
All
which
right.
is where everybody from Fort Bragg goes to get married because
Okay.
it's just across the border.
Mm.
It's cheap. Our witnesses were the couple getting married behind us, and that was
That's
it.
great. The Southern Vegas.
Yeah, it pretty much is. It's yeah.
Cool.
Um, so she gets pregnant along the way,
Okay.
and
Awesome.
at the same time, I was wanting to go to what they call rigger school.
Yes.
And rigger school is where they pack parachutes, repair parachutes, which to me was a shocking concept. Like you don't just throw these things away when
Yeah,
they get
yeah.
broken.
Like,
No, we
how
reuse them.
salvageable are they really?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and each type of repair on a parachute has a number of hours assigned to it,
Hmm.
and you have that number of hours to complete that repair
Hmm.
or better.
Yeah,
And it's basically like piecework in a sweat factory.
yeah, yeah.
But you get to wear a cool hat. You get to wear a red baseball cap
Ooh.
rather than just a beret.
That
So
doesn't say "Make America Great Again." It's,
no, no, unfortunately,
but that's probably where Trump got the idea. Like, those
yeah,
parachute riggers, heart of America, right there.
yeah, you get rigger wings. You get a special pair of
Ooh.
jump wings.
Okay.
Like one. Oh, one of the guys in my airborne class was a hostage from Iran.
Really?
Yeah,
That's wild.
I don't remember which one, but
Wow. That's pretty incredible.
so I wanted to go to rigger school,
Hmm.
and they wanted to send me at a certain date, but that date would have been while my wife was due to have the baby,
Oh, okay.
and I didn't want to go till after that because I wanted to be there
Sure.
when my son was born.
Of
They
course.
the army doesn't give a shit,
Oh no.
so they sent me anyways.
Ugh.
And when she found out, she decided to leave at 9 months pregnant.
God.
So
Uh.
yeah, we get
That's
along great now.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually followed her on Twitter till Twitter kicked her off because she's
Twitter has
very
the
very
same rules as
conservative.
AIT.
Yeah, she's very conservative. So
Good for her.
um, and yeah, so I was in the rigger unit, 620th or something like that.
Hmm.
Uh, I was in a repair unit, not a pack unit. And rigger school is very, very difficult.
Oh, really?
If physically you're still running everywhere, but intellectually, skill wise, because
Interesting.
there's some saying that you could pack a parachute 80% wrong or something like that and it would still open.
Hmm.
But 1% wrong was wrong. You had to be
Yeah.
perfect every time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you were checked, and the guy who checked you was checked by somebody else. Everybody who packs a parachute signs with their name. The
Hmm.
supervisor who inspects it signs with his or her name,
Yep.
and so on. Because if that parachute goes bad, and sometimes they do, just
Hmm.
through sheer accident, and somebody gets hurt or dies or just has to deploy their reserve,
Yeah.
they want to know who, and they want to go back and check and make sure there wasn't any sabotage or something like that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um,
It's a big deal.
yeah, but despite that, yeah, there's chaos on every jump.
Yeah.
You got hundreds of guys in the air, and it's like, you're in my air. No, you're stealing my air. Get the fuck out of my
Totally.
way.
Well, yeah,
Guys
and
screaming at you.
those parachutes are not known for their maneuverability, so
Not back
it's
then,
like,
because initially, I forget which ones are the dash ones and the T10s. I think the dash ones,
hmm,
you pulled on the risers,
okay.
and you didn't turn. You slipped. You went at an angle,
Mm.
so you could angle or vector, but you couldn't rotate per se. And then the other one, which I think was the uh, T10, you had toggles. You could
Hmm.
actually rotate.
Oh, okay.
And literally every jump I was on, I got a war story from. I could do nothing but sit here and tell you. I've almost landed on a farmhouse. I've landed on
Damn.
runways twice.
Oh boy, that
I
sounds
retweeted
dangerous.
a Yeah, I retweeted a video earlier today of some Mexican cops taking a car thief and hitting him on the ass with a 2x4.
Yes, yes, I
I've,
saw
I've
that.
landed on runways twice. And the way I've always described it is if somebody takes a 2x4 and swings it at your back as
Yeah.
hard as they can, that's what landing on a runway is like.
Oh, yeah. Because
It's
really the
hard.
drops are supposed to be designed for like soft ground, right? I mean, and it's a hard
Well,
landing
more or
as
less.
is on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a jump in Utah,
Oh.
across from where the NSA Spy Center is now, whatever the fort is.
Yeah, yeah.
And two guys ran into each other in the air. There's a helicopter drop.
Oh my God.
So you don't have more than a couple dozen guys in the air at a time.
Right.
And there's a couple of malfunctions that can happen with a parachute. You could get a cigar roll, which is what it looks like. The parachute's all rolled up and it's flopping.
Yeah.
And it'll still slow you down a little bit.
Yeah.
But not enough.
Right.
You could get a May West. A May West is where your risers go over the top somehow of the parachute. So you end up with two bulges like this, like May West.
Ah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And people don't realize that when air is going into a parachute, the top of the parachute is basically hard as concrete, because the pressure of the air coming up in.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
So one guy the lower jumper was like this, and the other jumper had somehow gotten off on the side of him, but his parachute was over the top.
Oh my God.
Rolled up on the other side of the guy. So you got two guys coming down, one dangling like this, and poof, into the ground. And they probably would have died, except for the fact there was about 3 feet of mud on the drop zone. And one guy broke his back, and I don't remember what happened to the other guy. So
Jesus, yeah, it's so freaking dangerous. Because what I've heard and everything is just, you have to figure, if you're jumping, those parachutes are just designed to slow you down just enough. Plus you're carrying gear, plus all these things. So anything goes wrong, you're landing on a harder surface. There's some sort of malfunction where the parachute isn't slowing you down as much as it would otherwise.
Yeah.
I mean, any single thing. I mean, you can really, really fuck yourself up.
Oh, I wanted to tell you, because you're in the Navy. I mentioned this last time we talked. It's my another jump school story.
Okay.
My second experience with. I have a great deal of respect for you, because I know I've seen you do your workouts and stuff. I know you can physically hack stuff. Now, I've never been a super soldier. I've never been like, buffed out, stuff like that. I've never had upper body strength, not even when I was in jump school. So as a result, I had a hard time doing pull-ups.
Oh, sure.
Right. Girls or young ladies in jump school, rather than doing the full bar thing, they would lay flat on their back on the ground with a bar 3 feet over their head and do their pull-ups that way. I'm not joking.
Amazing.
At least back then they did.
I mean, in terms of working your way up to pull-ups, that's a great progression. That's a good thing to do, but for that to suffice requirements is no.
Because you have to have the upper body strength to pull on the risers at the time, so that you could, And so as a result of me not being able to do pull-ups, I was in the gig pit every day of jump school for 3 weeks. There are two types of people in the gig pit at jump school: me and Navy SEALs. and not because I was a Navy SEAL or could have been, but because the black hats liked fucking with the SEALs, and the SEALs, being SEALs, liked being fucked with. So, the SEALs would be in there, doing their extra training, and I'd be in there doing extra training too.
Yeah, trying to get up to par. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't done pull-ups in a while. I need to get on that. Thank you for the reminder.
It's been decades. So I still do, rock marches. I go hiking in the woods, down canyons with a backpack and stuff. But
you're down in Arizona. I mean, that's beautiful country. Yeah. Totally ideal for hiking. So.
Oh yeah, great. Absolutely. Yeah. It's hot in the desert right now, but you go up north and you hike up what they call the Mogollon Rim. It's a cliff that goes across Arizona.
Cool.
So you're talking before about a parachute being right and stuff. I did a couple of free falls too.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of hard to show because I'm on a limited screen here. I can't do all my
your interpretive dance for
my interpretive dance. Yeah. But it was while I was in rigger school, I went and did some free falls with some other students and instructors. They were civilian free falls, but everybody was military. And one of the instructors at the free fall thing was a former Golden Knight. Okay. So we were jumping out of a Cessna 152 or 172, I forget which. And I wasn't strapped to the guy. I did my free falls alone. Okay. And so you stand out under the wing, and you're supposed to just let go and you'll fall forward because that's where your momentum is going.
Yes.
I didn't let go. I actually pushed. And so as a result, I was tumbling backwards in the air.
No.
This is from about 5,000 feet. I'm tumbling backwards in the air. I'm like, well, and they say when you're in a
Yeah.
deadly situation, time slows down. It did. It was like, I'm like,
Really.
okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
had no training. Somehow I got myself stabilized. You're supposed to uh, be in a flat position, this thing
Right. Right.
flat, and you'll fall 120 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I got myself in a stabilized position, somehow stopped tumbling, got stabilized, looked out at the horizon, and blue was down and green was up.
Oh, that's a problem.
Yeah, okay, this isn't good. Now I'm thinking, how do I turn over?
Yeah.
Because again, I haven't been trained in this.
Yeah.
Um, Somehow got myself turned over, got myself stabilized, and then I started to rotate over onto this shoulder a little bit again.
Oh boy.
Now they teach you to look at your I forget what the thing is, the ripcord or what. There's a better term for it.
Yeah.
And reach. You look, you reach, and then you pull.
Yes.
So you don't want to grab the wrong thing.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
That could be a
Big
problem.
problem.
But when I started to rotate on my shoulders, I said, fuck it, grabbed and just, luckily I grabbed the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Parachute, even though the parachute's on my back, when it opened, it somehow hit me in the face.
Oh God.
Left side of the face. And the left side of my face was numb for a couple of weeks afterwards from the
Whew.
impact.
Yeah.
So the parachute opens. First thing you do when a parachute opens is you're supposed to look up and make sure you actually have a parachute.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't.
You don't have a May West. Your parachute isn't floating off across the drop zone somewhere without you.
Yeah.
You know,
Just shit like
I
that.
looked
Yeah.
up. I like, God, that parachute looks good to me.
Mm-hmm.
I land. The only time in my life I ever did a good PLF, parachute landing fall.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of a parachute landing fall is you have 5 points of contact. It's basically like judo.
Uh-huh.
You distribute the force
Yes.
away from the 2 small points on the bottom of your heels along the side of your body.
Yeah.
I did the only good PLF of my life, well, except for jump school. And the jump master who was running over, oh man, I'm glad you didn't pull your reserve. I'm like, why? He picks up my parachute, goes like this. Now this is not the winged type civilian parachute. It was a civilian parachute, but it resembled the the one that's got it's a canopy,
Mm-hmm.
but it had cutouts in back. And I'm like, well, why? He picks up, he spreads it out, and 3 of the panels in it were blown out.
Whoa.
And one was melted from nylon friction. So
what?
the impact opening not only hit me in the face, but it basically destroyed half my parachute.
Oh my God.
Which, if I'd have seen that, I probably would have pulled my reserve.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had a great landing,
Yeah.
soft,
Yeah. You knew.
So,
yeah. Holy shit. That is so crazy. Well, and then
so like I said, something goes wrong, whether with you or with somebody else on every jump.
seems like it. Good grief.
My last jump. Now, at the time, it was C-130s and C-141s. 130 was a turboprop. 141 was a jet.
Mm-hmm.
You could either jump out of the tailgate, and I loved jumping tailgates, or out of the side, which I didn't care for so much. Oh,
Right.
by the way, when I did my first jump, I was not scared.
Yeah.
I was kind of like in a Zen zone. I just, okay, out the door.
Yeah.
Neither good nor bad. So I never really liked going out the side though.
Yeah.
So I like to see what's out there. I enjoyed
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed the view,
Yeah.
which is why jumping from a helicopter is a lot of fun, because
Mhm.
you're actually sitting in the door of the helicopter.
Yes.
My
yes.
very first helicopter ride ever. I'm sitting in the door of the helicopter on the DZ, probably St. Miraglise at Fort Bragg. And the helicopter takes off. It doesn't go straight up. It kind of lifts forward like this, right?
Sure. Sure.
And then he goes to make a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Now, bear in mind, I'm sitting in the door with my legs sticking out, and he turns like this. And I'm looking straight down at the ground. I'm like,
Boy.
oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
You're already hooked up. So if you actually did fall out, the parachute would probably open.
Right.
But and centrifugal force is keeping you in.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know that about helicopters.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Wow.
So at rigger school, right?
Mm-hmm.
At rigger school, the drop zone is postage stamp size. I mean, it's smaller than St. Miraglisa at Fort Bragg. It's really tiny. And all
Yeah.
they jump out of is helicopters. Right across the street, literally across the street, is a women's prison. And every once in a while, they get a bad spot and a lot of wind, and some guy would drift over the wall into the women's prison.
Oh boy.
It's at Fort Lee, Virginia, near St. Petersburg. So
Hilarious. Hilarious. Wow.
my final jump. So back to the C-140s and 130s.
Mm-hmm.
And a C-130, because it's traveling slower,
Mm-hmm.
or not slower, it's the engines. You
Yeah.
just you step out of the door, or you jump out of the. You actually take a hop as you come out of the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
141, because there's more blast coming out of the engines.
Mm-hmm.
You don't jump, you don't hop, you
Right.
step.
Yes.
I forgot that, and I jumped,
Oh boy.
and I caught the blast, and it slammed me into the side of the thing, like on my arm and my face, right?
Oh god.
So yeah, I always say I've been hit by an airplane in midair. More accurately, I hit it, but it's kind of like
Yeah.
it
Well,
sounds
yeah,
better
the
when
plane
it's-
retaliated, self-defense, Yeah. Holy cow.
So you got to turn into the wind to land, because you're actually going pretty fast. As those cutouts in the back of the parachute will propel you in a specific direction.
Sure.
So you want to face into the wind as a way of braking yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you have less lateral momentum when you land.
Right.
Well, I couldn't rotate to the left because I couldn't feel my arm.
Oh god.
And I had to rotate around to the right. Well, okay, so the parachute opens. I look up, parachute looks okay, and then I realize I'm feeling breeze through my hair. Now
Uh-oh.
you wear a helmet when you jump, right?
You should.
And I I feel breeze through my hair. I look off to the side, and there was my helmet. This is at Salerno drop zone, I think it was.
Okay.
Whatever the big one is at Fort Bragg, I forget the name right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's my helmet going like this. Like,
Oh god.
I landed on my face once.
Oh. Jeez Louise. Like, so basically
I got dragged across a drop zone another time.
So the reason there's so much chaos in every drop you've been on is because you were the point of chaos. Everyone else is
probably.
like, I had a great jump. They're like, ah, shit,
Yeah.
Kingsnake's on this one. We're all gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. There'd be just a couple of things that would go wrong, like for me, any of the things that you described, where I'd really have to think twice about ever jumping again. But you're just like, comes with the territory, not that big a deal. I see what I did wrong. I won't do that again.
Yeah. It's yeah. I at some point I decided it's probably when we got sent to Grenada.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've always been rebellious, even when I was in the military. I had a stack of counseling statements that was yay high. And
God bless. God bless.
I'm not proud of it, but there's things I shouldn't have said to people I should. So normally, especially at Fort Bragg at the time anyways, they come in and early in the morning, 3 a.m., 2 a.m., tell you to pack your shit. Okay. We're going to go out and screw around in the woods for 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when my sergeant came in and told me pack my shit this morning, it was the way he said it. I knew something real was going down.
Ooh, yeah.
We go down to the motor pool, we pack our stuff up, we go up to the company, they're handing us bullets and flak jackets, real bullets, not blanks, and so on. And something's happening. We go down to the Corps headquarters at Fort Bragg. Now, by this time I was in Alpha Company. Mm-hmm. Sergeant First Class David K. Frazee, who I'm still in contact with to this day, was our platoon sergeant. Mm-hmm. And we get to the Corps headquarters, and normally they would issue, I think it was the 52nd Mechanized Division. That was the fake CEOI, communication something operating instructions. It had your call signs, your frequencies, and other highly classified info. And normally they give you this 52nd Mechanized thing, which is for training. It was bullshit.
Yeah.
This time they gave us the real thing. I'm like, ooh, cool. And
Yeah.
I'm stoked. I don't know if I knew where we were going yet, but I knew it was going to be, there's going to be something exciting happening.
Sure. All the
And I'm
signs
like,
are there.
this is why I joined the military.
Yeah.
Some captain from Corps comes out and takes my slot on the airplane, and I
Ah.
lose my slot on the airplane. So my team is done there. My team specifically, our
Mhm.
4 or 12 guys in our squad, served as the direct communications link
Mhm.
between the Corps. That was our mission in general,
Yeah.
between the 18th Airborne Corps headquarters and the 82nd Airborne Division.
Mhm.
So while they're down there in Grenada, this is the same night the Rangers jumped in initially at Point Salinas Airfield.
Mhm.
I'm for that week, the next week, I'm sitting on the radio at Corps headquarters talking to them,
Mhm.
and they got tanks. Well, it's probably, they said tanks. It's probably BRMs or something shooting over their heads. I'm just like, oh fuck, I like be down
Yeah.
there, you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to sit down there after all the shooting was done, and probably for the best because now in the light of maturity, but at the time
Right. Right.
being 21,
Mhm.
I was still stoked to
Well, it's more like you've been training for this, and you have the capacity to do it. Like you want like your greatness, your capability revealed, and you're
or
missing that
just a chance
opportunity.
to prove yourself,
Yeah.
to find out really, really at your core who you are. Because you
Yeah.
never really, you know, there's nothing that's going to teach you about really who you are deep down inside, like being in combat will. I never
Absolutely.
was, but that's what I was,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
any young kid
Yeah.
wants to know. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow.
and in fact, overall in my career, I mean, I suppose I got some good war stories,
Yeah.
war and finger wiggles, but I was a very average soldier.
Mhm.
And and after I got commissioned, I told you about meeting Captain Thrasher.
Mhm.
I was a very average officer too. I was,
That's all right. The army
you
needs
know,
average officers too.
so,
But,
but
so yeah, that
go ahead.
was yeah, you mentioned, commissioning. So I mean that was like 86 that you ran into that captain. He
Yeah, Jim Thrasher. He just passed away
Oh,
6 months ago.
wow.
I'm still in contact from two of my buddies from ROTC who ended up marrying each other,
Wow.
man and woman at the time.
Old-fashioned
So
marriage. Yep. Yep.
yeah, and they Mary is the gal. She emailed me or messaged me, said, "Hey, Jim Thrasher passed away,"
Oh
and
man.
so I wrote to his widow and and told her about the positive impact Captain Thrasher had on my life.
Yeah.
And if he hadn't recruited me into ROTC, I wouldn't have gotten commissioned. If I hadn't got commissioned, I wouldn't have been in Bosnia in
Mhm.
91. And if I hadn't been in Bosnia in 91, I wouldn't have met the lady who's my current wife.
Wow. Wow.
So although, things have a way of echoing out that you don't realize the impact they will eventually have on your life.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I wouldn't be with somebody who means as much to me as my wife does if he hadn't
Yeah.
recruited me into ROTC. So
I know. Just crazy, right? Like just
yeah,
the butterfly effect that seemingly
exactly.
chance
Yeah.
encounters can have. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Wow. So commissioning program. I mean, what happens? So I mean, you hadn't really done any college work up until that point. So you do
Well, I
ROTC.
actually, I was taking college classes at Pope Air Force
Oh,
Base,
okay, great.
which is immediately adjacent to Fort Bragg, in uh, law enforcement, criminal justice,
Okay.
and got straight A's. I'm like, holy crap, I get straight A's. I'd show
Awesome.
up to class. I'd go up to Raleigh, get drunk because I didn't like hanging out in the military town. I'd go up to Raleigh. It's a college town. Meet college girls,
Sure.
normal girls,
Yeah.
not townies.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and it's Fayetteville. They called it Vietnam for a reason.
Mhm.
And I come back to class still drunk,
Mhm.
and I got straight A's. But I studied hard, so I'm like, I can do good at this school.
Yeah.
And so when
That's
I
great.
finally started going to school at Northern Arizona in
Mhm.
Flagstaff, I was using my own money. I studied hard.
Yeah. Oh
Now
yeah.
at the time,
Absolutely.
I'd already rejoined after I. By the time I got out of the military, so I came back from Grenada. Right,
Mhm.
I got kicked out of Grenada.
Ah, damn
For
it.
now, before you get deployed, you fill out all this survivor paperwork, right? And
Yes,
make sure
yes.
if you die, your survivors will get money.
Yeah, your
And I'd done that
HU.
too.
Yeah.
I get down there and I find out that my paperwork hadn't gotten filed, even though I'd
Uh-oh.
filled it out. And
Yeah.
like my son is not getting, who was a year old maybe at the time,
Right.
was not getting money to, eat.
Oh, man.
So I told him that. Now I'm in the Corps headquarters, remember?
Yeah, yeah.
And and at the same time, they were after me to get my hair cut. Now I have less
Amazing.
hair back then, but my hair was no longer than it is now. And they were
Yeah.
after me to get my hair cut. And I was not happy about them being more concerned about my hair
Yeah. Then,
than and
yeah.
I let it be known.
Good. Good.
And so, well, except an NCO decided to file charges against me for disrespect to an NCO. And the irony of this is that as an NCO, I was never disrespectful to
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
Yeah, like telling an E5 when I was at E2 to fuck himself. You know,
Eh, gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm not proud, but I did.
Yeah.
So they sent me back, and Captain Smith, our company commander, they filed Article 15 against me, and I was going to fight it. And I sat down and talked to Captain Smith, and he told me not to do it. Just take the Article 15.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as I explained on my blog, the it was when you're an officer, you have to support your NCOs, because if you
Absolutely.
don't, and this is endeavor. If you're a manager, you should support your middle managers and so on down the line, because if you don't, you undercut their authority with the people who are
Yes.
below them.
Yep.
And so he gave me the Article 15. I was restricted to barracks for a couple of weeks. I lost a rank. I lost some money. I had to
Wow.
pull extra duty,
Hmm.
and so on. And I think they figured after that my attitude would be shot, and so I got lifeguard duty the last 6 months I was there.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah, and lifeguard is the best job in the world.
Yeah, it is.
It was actually much more difficult than you would suspect,
Oh,
but
interesting.
I had to take a class and so on, and but I had a great time. And the final test in lifeguard class, it was we had to tread water for 90 minutes
Whew. That's
without
that's a bit.
without using your hands,
Oh boy.
and playing volleyball at the same time.
Damn.
I don't know why. I don't know what that has to do with lifeguarding, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
but it was great duty. And then before I got out, I got my rank back.
Good.
So after I graduated from ROTC, I got commissioned as a signal officer.
Good.
So I went back to Fort Gordon, where I'd been in basic training.
Yeah.
The wooden barracks were all gone. They've been raised in the 10 years since, 9 years.
Makes sense.
I'm walking across post one day, somewhere in the main post, and who do I see but Major Smith? Major Smith now.
Okay.
Hey, say hello to him.
Yeah.
Because I realized that at the time I may have been upset, but with a couple of years of reflection, like
Sure. Sure.
like I said, as an officer, you have to support your NCOs. He kind of played that Solomon's thing where you got to divide the baby thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He knew he had to support his NCO, but at the same time, not to really hammer me too hard.
Right.
He got
Right.
the message across, and I didn't resent it at all. I saw him, I said hello, and all that stuff was cool.
Yeah.
So
That's great. Wow.
I did have to save. I saved one kid
Oh, really?
once. Yeah, and there's all kinds of techniques they teach you how to pull somebody out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually on break. I'm sitting on the beach. They have pools and beaches at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid was like, there's two ladies up by the water. I was back about 50 feet. One of the ladies had like a kid that obviously had just learned to walk or just learned to stand on his feet.
Mm-hmm.
So their backs were the kid. The kid fell over on his hands and knees. And it was just enough that the water covered the tip of his nose like this,
Mm-hmm.
which is all it takes to drown.
Yep.
I saw the kid go like this. I saw him go like this again, and he's not getting up. And I dashed over there. I grabbed the kid by the arm and I just jerked him out of the water like that, like he's a
Yeah.
trout or something. Right.
Yeah.
Just as his mother turns around and looks at me, and she realized that I wasn't like kidnapping him or assaulting him.
Right.
So
Right.
you
Wow.
know, it's the
That's
most direct way to get the kid out of the water rather than because I couldn't have dived in.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Good grief. Well, and yeah, that's boy, that is Johnny on the spot, attention to detail, and
yeah,
I don't know how attentive most lifeguards are, but good thing you were.
yeah, I was on break, so
Yeah.
but yeah, so I ended up. Oh, one more story about basic training.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like I said, these are the old World War II barracks, right?
Hmm.
And like I said, they're just throwing them up as quick as they can so they get troops out on the front.
Yep.
The plumbing in these old wooden barracks, when you're the the shitters,
Hmm.
sometimes you go in a bathroom, it doesn't have a door, but they got the walls.
Right. Right.
There were no doors and no walls,
Oh boy.
and and the rows were
Yes.
so close together that if there was somebody sitting in the one across from you, you were touching knees with the guy.
Oh man. Uh,
I'm, I swear to
Gay
God.
and scatological. No, thank you.
Yeah, and it's kind of like being in prison or something, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Probably.
the now normally in your house, the two systems between your toilet and your water feed to your sinks and showers and stuff are separate.
Hmm.
In these old wooden barracks, they were tied into the same system. So you're in the shower, you got the hot water on, you're getting yourself clean, and somebody flush,
Hmm.
you had a half second to get out of there or you were getting burned,
Oh
literally
god.
burned, because the cold water would go to the toilet and you were left with nothing but hot water. So you
Yep.
got really quick reactions, and you'd feel the pressure start to drop and just boom, you're out and let
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
blast down.
Holy cow. Yeah. Just
Which you're supposed to call out flush, flush,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
that everybody warning ahead
Fire
of
in
time.
the
But so,
hole.
yeah, everyone's people would forget or they just wanted to fuck with you or whatever, and
Yeah. Scald you.
at the
Oh god.
other guy. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That is incredible. So rough. Ugh. So okay, but then
How much time do we have left here?
there's no real set time limit. But we'll move on to officer stories. You go to
Okay.
school. What year do you commission?
Uh, May of '89.
Okay, okay, and then it's 2 years after that.
Yeah,
You're in Bosnia.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I got commissioned. I was actually in school for another 6 months because I started college off cycle by a semester.
Oh, okay. Makes
Um,
sense.
Now, when I got out of active duty initially in '84, I'm like, there's no way I'm ever joining the military again.
Right.
The only place I could find a job, because the military doesn't give you practical skills.
No, it does
You
not.
know, there's
Despite what
no
they
need.
tell you.
Yeah, there's no need for shooting people usually.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase it. There's a lot of need to shoot people in the civilian world. It just
Yeah.
doesn't get done often enough.
Right.
So,
Right. Need to change
um,
out people a little bit more.
yeah, and so I got a job as a guard at the Yuma County Jail, right down on the Mexican border.
Awesome.
Now
Perfect.
they didn't pay much, so all I could afford. The first couple months I was there, I was living in a trailer with no heat, no water, and a hole in the floor,
Oh boy.
and checking into the Motel 6 every 3 days to take a shower. Well, I finally found a place. My landlords were two gay guys, one of them missing his legs, and they wouldn't let you had to go over to their home office to pay them. Probably because I was a young guy,
Yeah.
and there'd be like pictures of naked dudes diving in their, cat pool and stuff. And they'd try to, do you want to come over and swim with us?
You're like,
No, no,
nah,
no.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather drown.
The, so, that was the place. Once I paid my rent, I had no money left.
Yeah.
I couldn't, I had to budget to buy a candy bar.
Holy
That's
crap.
how little the jail paid.
That's
So
crazy.
I ended up joining the National Guard,
Okay. Okay.
and that's how I got back into the military at the time.
Okay.
initially.
Makes sense.
So after I got commissioned in ROTC, they sent me back to Fort Gordon,
Mm-hmm.
which is where I saw Smith and so on.
Sure.
Um, Now, while I was in college, I got a degree as a radio operator
Mm-hmm.
with the emphasis in audio production, which is
Yeah.
why I'm at least not totally clueless with the process that's going on right here
Okay.
today.
Awesome.
I
It's
don't
funny
I don't
because
have
I
a
am.
I don't I it's been years and decades. I found that I was much more suited to working at a classical station.
Yes.
Because of my voice. I'm not a hey, crazy morning zoo guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I couldn't.
Sound
So
effects.
I could look at somebody like Ant and
Mm-hmm.
go, I recognize. I didn't follow when he was Opie because I didn't like that zoo crew type of thing.
Right. Right.
But I see him now on his podcast, and I can recognize how good he really is.
Oh yeah.
I'm
He's
not good enough
incredible.
to do that,
Yeah.
but I have enough background knowledge to know and recognize the talent that he has, which is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. He's something
So
else.
yeah. Um, so let's see. While I was in college, I'd taken a class in computers. Now this is
Mm-hmm.
very, very early. This is 85 or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it was still two colors on your screen.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I'd done really well at the class though.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'd realized at the time that the people pyramid in broadcasting is like this.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, the people pyramid is like this. There's
Mm-hmm.
only a few people at the top. There's a lot of people down here.
Yep.
The money pyramid is the opposite.
Yeah.
The only person who's making money is the morning drive guy,
Yep.
the 5 p.m. anchor on the news, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So and I realized I didn't have the talent for it, even though I'd gotten a degree in it.
Mm-hmm.
So after I got commissioned, I went to officer basic course.
Mm-hmm.
Officer basic course is like the AIT for officers. It's where they teach you your technical skill as an officer, what branch you're going to be in.
Yep.
Infantry, armor, aviation, signal,
Yeah, like you were.
supply, whatever it is, you know. So I went to signal school because that's where my background was, enlisted, and my degree.
Yes, of course.
So I moved up to Green Bay, and at the time I moved to Green Bay, right after that the Gulf War kicked off. Where the initial part where Iraq invaded Kuwait.
Yeah.
Now, at the time I was assigned to an artillery brigade here in Phoenix, and I'd actually done some duty with them and stuff. But I was in Green Bay, so I basically had to hand ram my paperwork through so that I could get into this unit. And I got into it with like an hour or two to spare.
Wow.
Before the cutoff date for them getting deployed, so that I could go over there and and that was in civil affairs. So civil affairs is like I guess
a little bit different.
Yeah, it's more touchy feely.
Right.
The main objective of civil affairs is to coordinate between the U.S. military, foreign militaries, our government, their government, NGOs, which are non-governmental organizations, Red Cross, Doctors Without Borders, stuff like that. And the reason for doing all this coordination is, naturally enough, we want them all to do what we want them to do, not what they want to do. Support U.S. policy and war aims or peace aims, whatever the case might be. So it's more of a like I said, it's more of a soft power thing.
Right.
So, we got deployed to the Middle East, and we didn't get there till we thought we were going to go in with my team was specifically assigned to the 3rd Armored Cavalry, and we thought we were going in with the initial counterattack invasion into, northern Kuwait and Iraq and stuff, but we got pulled off that. And we went into Kuwait City probably a week or so after the heaviest shooting stopped. And the only 3 times I was scared during the Gulf War was when we were driving every time.
Interesting. Why
The
is that?
first time, um, crappy drivers.
The people you were riding with, or just the other traffic?
And yeah, our people specifically.
Interesting.
The Saudis don't care. It's the whole,
Yeah.
the whole inshallah thing. If God
Yep.
wills it, I'll die or I won't.
Yep.
They crash a car. They're wealthy enough. They just leave the car. They go get another one and stuff.
That they
The
do.
um so once we're driving down the highway through, we're probably not too far from Kafchi at the time, where they had the Marine battle after the initial attack.
Yes.
And the guy who's driving was looking out the window, and the vehicle in front of us, we had those old pickup truck type things,
Yeah.
had stopped. And I'm just like, I
Yeah.
thought we were going to bite it.
Uh,
Another time, the driver I was with was, we were on one of the ring roads in Kuwait City, and she's driving along, and kids would run out and wave at you, and she wasn't paying attention. I thought she was going to plow through this crowd of kids. And then the third time we were in Turkey, after the whole thing was done, we were going to the Kurdish relief effort,
okay.
and I think we were actually coming back from it. And it's a 2-lane highway along southern Turkey. It's like just a half mile from the Syrian border,
Mm-hmm.
and we're on an uphill, 2 lanes. The bus in front pulls out to pass whoever's in front of him. Our bus driver decides to pull out and pass that truck. So we're going 3 wide, and a vehicle's coming the other way. And I'm just like, dude, no.
Yeah,
I was the first seat. I'm like, dude, no, don't pull out.
Good
So,
God. Yeah.
when we, so the what happened? Anything interesting? Oh, interesting Kuwait City story.
Okay. Yeah.
We had a captain
Mm-hmm.
who, when we were still at Fort Bragg, doing our processing and training to get ready to be sent over there.
Mm-hmm.
This guy he was at least 50 pounds overweight.
Oh, God.
I mean, you look at me, I weigh about 215 right now. Body weight would be 185.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was at least 250.
Jeez.
Huge. And he was a fraternizer.
Even better.
The same gal who almost I thought was going to run over those kids. He would take her to the O Club at Fort Bragg with her sitting on his lap.
Man, back in the days before camera phones, where people could, record the improprieties and, get some consequences.
There's pictures of me at Fort Bragg where I'm passed out. Because
well, passed out people do lend themselves to more photographic opportunity.
Yeah. And yeah, she's in the picture. So so he's one of these guys who liked playing with EOD. The type of guy.
Yeah.
I could. Oh, there's a grenade there. I could fix that.
Sure you can.
Starts playing with it with his, your micro tool and that type of guy.
Yeah.
So we're in Kuwait City. I got assigned to his team for the day, and we're supposed to go clear a school. Mm-hmm. Now it's not clearing like there's any bad guys still there, probably. Mm-hmm. There were still a few snipers and stuff around, or Palestinians. The Palestinians who served as the servants of the Kuwaitis when the Iraqis invaded, the Palestinians did what the Palestinians do, which is collaborate with the Iraqis.
Yeah.
Every country in the Middle East hates the Palestinians. All of them, not just Israel. Nobody wants them because they continually shit their nest wherever they go, including in Kuwait City.
Yeah.
So we're going through the school, making sure, that nothing was amiss. Mm-hmm. The Iraqis use the schools as strong points, as little forts, because all the schools have a wall around it. A tall stone wall,
strategic sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like a little castle. Mm-hmm. Now it's just me and him. We don't have a big team, and he's a dipshit. So I tell him, he outranks me. I tell him, you go left. I was a second lieutenant. You go left, I'll go right.
Yeah.
We'll go around the courtyard. We'll meet up on the other side.
Yeah. Easy
So,
peasy.
so I check out my side, and I notice there's a little outbuilding on my
Mhm.
side. I better check that out. I go downstairs into the bright sunlight, and as I'm opening up the door to this thing, I see a shadow moving inside, and I'm like ready to blast the fucking
Oh
thing
yeah,
because I'm
yeah.
thinking there is a Palestinian sniper here.
Yeah.
It was that fat fucking captain.
Oh god.
He's supposed to be way the fuck over here,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's over here.
Yeah, what the fuck? What's he doing?
Yeah. So
Oh
I seen the
god.
guy, like 5 years later. I think we were actually training for the mission to Bosnia
Mhm.
at Hohenfels or Grafenwehr in Germany. I forget which one. And walking down the street is this fat guy, except now he's a major.
Oh
Like, how do
god.
you get promoted when you?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
just
whatever.
useless.
I said hello to him. I was nice, but
Yeah, you're always
it's
professional, but
this
shake
is a
your
guy.
head.
We're at Fort Bragg training to go over there, right? And the I don't think the shitters had doors because it was in the wooden barracks at Fort Bragg.
Mhm.
But they at least had walls. And you're in the row of mirrors and
Mhm.
sinks, brushing your teeth. So you got a mirror here, and you look at the fat captain taking a dump. Hey, he's trying to engage you in conversation.
Yeah.
And you don't want to look at a naked fat guy taking a freaking dump while you're trying to brush your teeth in the
Or
morning.
at any time. I mean, brushing your teeth is like over the top,
Yeah.
but like even, well,
Yeah.
anything. I don't want to see that ever. No matter the
No.
circumstances. Oh god.
Yeah.
So,
So in between, I'd learned that I wanted to do. I was sitting over in the Middle East in between doing different things,
Mhm.
and saying, I was pretty good at that computer stuff. Maybe I should
oh yeah.
do that for a living instead of radio. And I went after I got back from the Middle East. I got a degree in basically computer programming,
Mhm.
second bachelor's.
Awesome.
So
And did you jump right into that industry after you
yeah.
retired or okay.
Well, no, while I was doing it, because at the time I was in the reserve. So I did the
Oh,
two
right,
together.
right. Okay. That's right.
And luckily enough, long story short, I was able to retire when I was 50 as a civilian as well. So
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, you picked the
yeah.
right industry then.
Yeah, it's not so much that I did anything particularly well.
Mhm.
I try not to get. I wasn't Stephen Jobs or anything even remotely close to it,
Right.
or what's his name with the
Elon
South
Musk.
African dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
I'm not Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And but it's I got lucky.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
and I realize I got lucky, and I'm not egotistical about it, because that luck could run out at some point.
Yeah, yeah. Got to plan
So
for the future and
yeah,
that's great.
I don't have fuck you money.
Very few of
So
us do. Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky enough. I'm very thankful for what I have,
Mhm.
and grateful for the luck I had.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I can't just go out and buy private jets or stuff like that.
Who
So
can? Who
yeah.
can? Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so all right, so you get tired from uh, military in
Hmm.
September 9th, 2001, or at least that's when
Correct.
you begin your terminal leave. Um, but so then you're strictly a civilian at that point. There's
Hmm.
no drilling weekends or deployments on the horizon. 20 years of military experience. I mean, how does that shape what you do now and dictate
Well,
the success that you've had?
the like I said, the military doesn't really give you any useful, or
Yeah,
not useful skills, but practical technical skills.
sure.
Maybe if you're an MP, and I was an MP for a while actually, but I did physical security rather than street patrol or whatever the equivalent is,
Right.
facilities security.
Mhm.
And there's a few other things like a cook or something like that, but for the most part, they don't teach you practical skills.
No, they don't.
But what the military does teach you, and this is a huge advantage you have over other kids in college, like I was with kids that were anywhere from 4 years or more younger than me, or even other adults, especially nowadays,
Mhm.
is they teach you how to be at the right place at the right time
Yep.
with the right stuff, doing the right things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's huge.
with each passing year, that becomes a more and more rare skill in the civilian world.
Yes. Yes. Well,
If you
yeah.
can,
Like
so
you've mentioned luck coming into it, but it's like, okay, just because an opportunity presents itself does not mean that you're at all in a position to take advantage of it. And
yeah, you
preparation,
know,
consistency, and practice. Those are
yeah,
all things.
and just if you're an employee that shows up at the right time, 15 minutes late every day because there's traffic, well, leave 30 minutes earlier.
Yes, whatever it is you got to do.
If you're 15 minutes late every day, leave 30 minutes early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That way you'll
it's
be
that simple.
15 minutes early, and if traffic is even heavier, you'll still be on time. And people don't do
Exactly.
that.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
they they,
Showing up's
they,
half the battle.
they don't have the ability to plan and organize and do. Those are the soft skills the military teaches you that are really useful, I think.
Definitely.
So
Definitely. And of course, as we usually wrap up with every podcast, if someone had some plans to join the military in this day and age, would you have any advice for them?
don't don't.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that one.
The my son
Mm-hmm.
uh, was actually in basic training at Fort Leonard Wood when 9/11 happened,
Wow.
and he was interested at the time in going into law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, look, if you're going to go into law enforcement, join the Coast Guard. And the reason for that is that the
Yes.
Coast Guard is doing a law enforcement mission every day. They're
Yes.
busting drug runners, they're busting drunk boaters.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically doing the same things that street cops do, except on the water.
Yep. Yep.
For a large part, search and rescue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, police departments have, here in Arizona, the Highway Patrol has search and rescue teams and
Mm-hmm.
so on. So they're doing similar activities. And I said, but if you don't want to join the Coast Guard, join the Air Force. That's what
Yep.
I told you at the beginning, didn't I?
Yes. Yes. Great advice.
Why is that? Because the Air Force is better food,
Mm-hmm.
better barracks, and better looking women.
That's a fact.
You know,
I will attest to that, like under oath.
yeah.
Absolutely true.
But he joined the Army like his old man. So
Ah, well, you can't save them all, I guess, but
I think that probably still applies. I was just at a Air Guard base getting
mm-hmm.
a updated ID. I
Mm-hmm.
got a retiree ID.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So a couple days ago, and that still applies. The
Great.
girl who was helping us, very helpful. E2 in the Air Force. I don't know what they call them. They got weird ranks,
Yeah, I have
but
no idea what they're
she's
doing.
very attractive young lady. So that's
Mhm.
still true. Better
Yes,
barracks, better food, better looking women.
it's a fact.
But nowadays, because of the, I think again, I'll say I was a very average soldier, a very average officer. So get that out of the way so somebody doesn't say, well, McMurry, you were shit. Okay,
Yeah.
I know I was, you know.
Yeah.
But my observation is that the leadership environment is very poor
Yes.
and focused not on war fighting.
Yes. Yes.
And really the only reason we have a military is to kill people and break stuff. And
Yes.
if you're not focused on killing people and breaking stuff, you're doing the wrong thing.
Yep.
And they're concerned with, so many other things. And then,
Mhm.
regardless of the political beliefs of the individuals involved, your job ultimately is to follow the orders of the commander above you. And
Mhm.
the ultimate commander is the commander in chief, the president of the United States.
Yeah.
And to see what happened to Trump,
Mhm.
because regardless of whether you agree with his politics or not, he is the commander in chief.
Yep.
To see high ranking 4-star level commanders in the Army, in the Navy, not just not doing what he said. It's okay to disagree. You disagree behind closed doors. The commander
Right.
takes in the input of his S1, his S2, his S3, whatever, all
Mhm.
his experts, and goes, okay, based on all this information, I'm doing this. Your job then becomes to do that, not
Yes.
the other thing, not this thing, not something completely different.
Mhm.
And to see 4-star level commanders not only not doing what he told them to do, but
Yes.
actively doing exactly the opposite and attempting to undermine him, and
Yeah.
not just undermine him within the organization itself, but to our enemies,
Yes. That was
including
insane.
including China. Miley legitimately, regardless of the politics involved, should hang for that.
It's a
We
huge
we
thing
hung we
for
hung
all he's done.
Benedict Arnold for that, and
Yeah.
Benedict Arnold at least was a good general.
Yeah.
He
Yeah. He
fought
was actually competent. Yeah.
he fought and won battles for the United States
Yeah.
before he
Before he became a
all
traitor. Yeah.
the basically the Congress, the Continental Congress, screwed him. And when
Oh,
they
really?
screwed him, he said, "Yeah, financially, rank wise, I
Hmm.
forget the exact details." And he said, "Screw this, I'm going to the other side."
Yeah. 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 It's a
Um,
lesson, and you got to treat your people right. But
the
yeah.
oldest tradition in the U.S. military, or in the U.S. in general,
Hmm.
the oldest tradition in the U.S. is fucking veterans. We have
Isn't it though? It's
always,
unbelievable. Yeah.
always fucked veterans. Not just the VA today, not
Hmm.
just the bonus army in the 30s.
Hmm.
I'm talking going back to the 1780s. Not even
Yeah.
Benedict Arnold, but
Yeah.
the other veterans.
Yeah.
You know, so um, we hung when we finally got a hold of Benedict Arnold,
Hmm.
despite his prior valiant service. He's a traitor, and we hung his ass.
Yeah.
Yet
Yeah.
Miley is walking around free and probably going to walk into a cushy multi-$100,000 consulting gig when he finally retires.
Yeah.
And he's not the only one.
No, absolutely not. I mean, anyone who's about a colonel or above, that's really privy to some sensitive information has got a great job in the defense industry, and it's
Yeah.
absolutely disgusting. And it perpetuates more pointless foreign intervention, and
Mm-hmm.
we're the ones paying for it, not them.
Yeah. And even if it's not a pointless foreign intervention, or it is, it's the fact that they disobeyed his orders,
It's insane.
lied to him about disobeying the orders. Like when he said his prerogative as the commander in chief is to say, "I want you to let Eddie Gallagher, the
Hmm.
SEAL that's
Yes.
supposedly committed to war, I want you to let him go."
Hmm.
And they're fighting him about it.
Yeah.
He made
Yeah.
his decision. Your job is to either execute the decision you have been told to execute,
Hmm.
or resign. Those are your two
Yes.
options.
Yes.
Not to do the exact opposite. You
Yeah.
have
It's
commanders
wild.
in Syria. Trump, I forget the exact details. He told them to, withdraw troops or do something,
Hmm.
and they not only didn't do it, they didn't. They told him they did, and then did the exact opposite.
I mean the very basic essence of your service, the requirements of service, and what that entails, they deliberately disobeyed.
Yeah,
It's insane,
it
absolutely
is.
crazy. Yeah.
How can you expect any soldier? Getting back to my situation with Captain Smith,
Hmm.
you know, he had to support. I didn't mean this to come together, but it kind of ties it up.
No, it's beautiful.
He had to support his NCO,
Yep.
right or wrong, and he did.
Yeah.
And now you have another situation. How can you expect your lower ranking people to follow your orders if you don't follow the orders of the people above you?
Yeah. You're setting a poor
And
example. Yeah.
yeah, so
It's that simple.
I would not advise anybody to join the military now.
No.
We need a purge top to bottom, and there's some people that need to be in Leavenworth, and at least in Miley's case, they need to be hanging. You
I.
don't go to
Yeah.
the enemy, which the Chinese are and have been for decades. You don't go to the enemy and say, "Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I'm not going to do what he tells me."
That's
That's
so
just shot.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, he should literally be hanging.
Yeah. That's complete.
I don't
It's
care what
crazy.
party you are.
Yeah.
Could you
It's.
picture if we
I
had a
mean, China's absolutely the enemy, and to
conservative
do that.
generals,
Yeah.
and a let's say Obama would be a better example than the guy who's than Biden, and Obama ordered them to go somewhere and do something as commander in chief,
Hmm.
and they turned around. Let's say they said to, you know Mullah Omar or somebody, don't worry about it. We're not actually going to bomb Tora Bora or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely crazy to give aid and comfort to the enemy, just for
Yeah.
political, whatever.
Yeah.
Is so crazy. And yeah, I agree. I think the military is insanely screwed up, and there's been a stigma that the batch of recruits every subsequent year are dropping in quality, and that may be true, but what is it that we're fighting for? What is it that people would be incentivized to join that organization? I mean, is that an organization you take pride in? And to be asked that question, and my answer every year was less and less of a resounding yes to
Yeah.
the last couple of years, where I'm like, I can't wait to get the hell out. I don't know what's happening.
See,
It's all pointless.
I wasn't even in for that. I was gone, like I said,
Yeah, yeah,
with excellent timing.
yeah.
But you caught the beginning of
Mm-hmm.
that,
Yeah.
or the tail end. I mean, as a reservist, you were until a year ago, so you were,
Just a couple months. Yeah.
yeah. So you were in the thick of it, the
Well, and
woke military.
it like I talk to people, and this is make of it what you will, but by the time I joined, Don't Ask,
Hmm.
Don't Tell was still in place. Now, whether or not it was exercised, I mean, it was certainly kind of phased out where, if they did want to charge people under it, it was more like, it's not because the guy's gay, it's because he's a dickhead and we have this technicality to bounce him. That was
Yeah.
kind of the mentality. And then I think that got repealed a couple years after I joined. So like 2011, I think. And that's fine. Okay, yeah, gay people serving in the military. By like the year before I left, they instituted policies for observation during urinalysis for transgender sailors. The sea change, in a 10-year span, the sea change.
Yeah.
I can't even comprehend it. It's a totally, and that's just like one particular instance. It's the amount that the military has changed just in my time is insane. It's not the same organization, and I certainly don't think that, like you say, the military gives you the skills to to outrun your civilian peers who've been working in whatever industry you want to get into. I mean, you're starting lower on the totem pole, further behind the eight ball. I, I
Hmm.
don't I don't really much see the point in serving unless it's like I just want to have a steady paycheck, get out of my hometown, do something different, and then maybe I'll have I'll come out with it knowing what I
Yeah.
want to do and actually be motivated to do it. So
Back in my day, it was either, get out of your hometown, or because you wanted to get money for college.
yeah, yeah, the money for
But
college. I
but
mean, I got that too, but then it's like, oh, I got a voucher to attend a leftist indoctrination center. Like it wasn't,
uh,
anything that was worthwhile
that
either.
that that
So
that is that is where the cost is literally increasing logarithmically. When
yeah,
I attended
it's
college,
insane.
costs were increasing, but they were still reasonable.
Yeah,
Now, you're paying, $30,000 or $40,000 to go to crappy state university. That's just
yeah,
the crappy one. You're not even talking Harvard or Stanford or, you
yeah,
know, and that's uh, and then you throw in not only the cost but the
yeah,
indoctrination.
yeah,
And unless you're somebody who's liberal,
yeah.
you're still paying too much.
Oh, it's
So why pay
ridiculous.
more for a degree that really ultimately, no matter what degree you have, you learn on the job.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
experience can't really replace that.
I mean,
Yeah.
you look at somebody like Anthony. I had a degree in broadcasting.
Hmm.
Anthony didn't.
He didn't even have a high school diploma.
Yeah. So Ant shows up and he tears it up, you
Yeah,
know.
he's something else, man. Like, um, and this was, I think this got pointed out on Twitter, but we managed to converge at Adam Carolla's live podcast last week,
Hmm.
um, and when there's a live show going on, I'm focused on that, and people I'm sitting with can have little asides, if it doesn't interrupt or I don't miss what's said on,
Yeah.
that's fine, and Anthony's case, he has an absolute exception. Whatever the hell he's going to say is going to be funnier than whatever's happening up there. I mean, the
Yeah.
guy is just, he's always on. It's crazy. But, years of practice. He's been at it, damn near 30 years. And,
But even initially, the talent was there.
oh, yeah.
He didn't need to go to school. He could hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and why burden yourself now with a huge debt
Yeah.
to do what you could have done anyways without the debt,
Yeah.
regardless of whether you're liberal or conservative
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah. Might
It
as well
doesn't make
just
sense.
get a job in the industry. And I see that a
Yeah.
lot of times where people kind of get talked out of something, like if you really really want to be a lawyer, but oh well, I mean there's just not that many jobs out there. And it's like, okay, for like the average lawyer, if you're really super driven and this is absolutely what you want to do, I mean eventually you're going to write your own ticket anywhere to what you're going to beat out everyone else if you're really hungry
Mm.
for it and you really want to do it. Cream
That's
rises
true.
to the top.
True in any industry.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's that Teddy Roosevelt had a saying, something about, it was a long one, and
Mm.
the end of it is the credit belongs to the guy in the arena who bled and sweat and so on. And the gist of it is, if you don't try, the person who puts the effort in will succeed. The
Yes.
person who doesn't won't.
Yeah, and you can't
So
be afraid to fail either. That's
yeah,
that's another thing. It's very very helpful. People
yeah,
have this aversion to failure, to humiliation, or whatever else, and it's like, I don't know. Those have been my best teachers. I mean,
yeah,
shame works. Let's bring it back.
yeah, absolutely.
um, well, I think we'll probably wrap it up there. But you had
Okay.
mentioned your blog earlier. What do you want to
Oh,
promote that? And do you have
my
anything else?
yeah, I got to do my plugs.
Yeah, yeah.
I even though I don't make any money, I
That's all
have
right.
you know, my blog is at prestonm.com. Papa Romeo Echo Sierra Tango Oscar November Mike.com. PrestonM.com. I still remember my phonetic alphabet.
I love it.
Um,
And it'll
and
be
then
down in the description too. There'll be a link.
oh, thank you. And then on Twitter at Preston McMurry. I actually use my real name on Twitter, so I keep my
Excellent.
more controversial political opinions to myself.
That's all right.
But
That's what this platform's for. You know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't said anything really too bad on here, but I
No,
have,
no.
especially about the state of the military now. There are things I would not say on Twitter just because there's I like to be cautious.
Yeah, no, and
So
cautions, you know, it's warranted,
yeah,
especially on a platform like that. I mean,
yeah,
on here, I say let her rip. But yeah, Twitter, you get
yeah,
booted off and then you can't say anything. So then what?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just use Twitter to entertain, hopefully, other people.
absolutely. I think
So
you've succeeded.
oh, thanks.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on. Like I say, I'll put the links for your Twitter and your blog
Okay.
down in the description, and
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate it, and definitely have to have you on again soon.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.